Yo, it's Odyssey Sports and the Sporting Tribune. And yes, it is the busiest time of the year for us around here. But guess what? I'm going to always make time for some professional wrestling, and rightfully so. We talked to Josh Alexander last week. Now we're welcoming in Cody Deaner because this Saturday, December 9th, 5 p.m. here in Vegas, will be Impact Wrestling's final event of the year. Final pay-per-view for Impact, some would say, called Final Resolution. That will be available, on Fight TV. And then, of course, here in Vegas next year will be the return of TNA Wrestling. Hard to Kill coming to the Palms Casino. Tickets available now. That'll be Saturday, January 13th. Go get your tickets at Ticketmaster. Cody Deaner, welcome. You're actually in Las Vegas. My apologies for you not being live in studio, but you're a busy man. What are you doing in the city?
Yeah, man. So I'm doing some media appearances, like speaking to some fine folks like yourself. But today and tomorrow, I'm going to be visiting some boys and girls clubs. We have an awesome program that we do through Impact. Again, going to be TNA, but we call the program Making an Impact. So rather than just go into cities and towns and communities and entertain the folks like we're going to be doing here, come Hard to Kill, and the next night on Snake Eyes, we also want to go into communities and make a positive impact in some form or fashion, whether that's working with a children's group or working with a charity. So I'm visiting some boys and girls clubs. Today I'm going to be at the Downtown Clubhouse. Tomorrow I'll be at the John C. Kish Clubhouse, and I'll be just chatting with some of the kids, taking pictures with them, kind of sharing my journey in wrestling, daring them to dream big. I was just a kid that grew up in a small town and wanted to be a professional wrestler. I've made that dream come true. So I'm going to encourage kids to follow their dreams as well. And we're going to be giving away some free tickets to these kids. So a lot of these kids would never get to go to a professional wrestling show before, and now they're going to get that opportunity. So for me to get to surprise them with these tickets and spend some time with these kids, man, it means a lot to me. It's something that I'm very passionate about doing. So I feel very honored that I get to hang out in Vegas for the next few days and do that.
No, that is awesome. And like, you know what? I might split this and go to the second part of the question that I was gonna save for later. But
Okay.
professional wrestling as a whole this year has seen a boom throughout everywhere you look, and Impact is no different from that, right? You're looking at the pay-per-view buys, the attendance selling out, going Mexico, Europe, here, Canada, it doesn't matter. How does it feel when you get chances like you are here in Vegas this week to kind of really, there's a difference between people screaming your name as you're coming down the ramp to actually sitting down and getting to touch and feel and really have conversations with these kids and with these people.
Yeah, man. I mean, it really it drives home why we do what we do. Like I said, I've always wanted to do this and to put a smile on somebody's face, whether that's doing something that they love or putting a smile on their face because I'm doing something they don't like, and then I get my comeuppance, in the ring. We're all about kind of entertaining and putting smiles on people's faces, but it really drives it home when, the people that you're putting a smile on their face, they're not behind a guardrail. They're not up in the rafters. They're not at a distance. They're right in front of you. And to see these kids and the appreciation that they have for me to just come and spend some time with them, I don't take that for granted, and I don't take that lightly. The fact that I was a kid, as a young kid, been a wrestling fan since I was 5 and always wanted to do this. If I got to meet a professional wrestler when I was that age, it would blow my mind. So those are the things that I think about when I go into these clubhouses and I talk to these kids at these boys and girls clubs. I don't take it for granted, and it's really why I do what I do is to try to make a difference, some small difference, and if that just means putting a smile on their face when I'm in the ring, great. But if it's even more than that, get to actually sit down, share my story with the kid, and listen to them about their hopes, their dreams, and their goals, and encourage them to make those dreams come true. Dude, I can't think of a better way to spend my time.
It's a beautiful thing. And look, this is our first time, getting to talk and getting to know each other. And we like to break the ice around here before we get straight into, all the things I need to do to make sure this gets posted on Fightful. So let's break the ice like this because you're here in Vegas. I'm sure you've seen even before you got to the city. The MSG Sphere just opened up recently. It's been a couple months. U2 already has a residency. There's rumors of Beyonce and the next act to sign a residency, and then the NHL draft will be taking place next year. In your opinion, as a professional wrestler, is that the type of venue that you would want to perform in?
Oh, dude. I mean, I've I've wrestled in everywhere from literally like a carnival pit where where they had horses going around a track and it was like pouring rain and I was covered in mud. I wrestled there, all the way to one time I wrestled in a subway station as part of an arts festival where I was in a steel cage for 3 hours in a blindfold steel cage match. So I have wrestled in some really unique and bizarre circumstances, but to go from those types of places where I've been able to wrestle to then be able to say, "Hey, man, I wrestled in the state of the art facility, the Sphere in Las Vegas," dude, what a story that would make. Wrestling basically in cow crap in earlier in my career to then wrestling in the Sphere in Las Vegas. Hey, man, that makes for a pretty cool story. So yeah, man, I'm down. If we can make that happen and have some TNA wrestling shows happen in the Sphere, let's do it, man.
Hey, from Cow Mud to the Death Star, that would be an amazing thing. And then the other thing I wanted to
Right.
ask you too, before we get into everything going on with Impact and TNA, I'm still gonna say both until January for everyone watching. Okay,
Yeah, man.
I just it's ironic because later tonight will be the one of the first premieres here in Las Vegas for the Iron Claw, and one thing that went viral is Jeremy Allen White kind of talking during a press conference, and someone asked him, just basically about professional wrestling and his thoughts about it and what he learned in the process of making this movie. And like every professional wrestler in the world, like quote tweeted it and retweeted it and was like, yo, this guy gets it. I want to ask you, what did you love about his answer so much?
I mean, I think for sure I have to echo the athleticism. I mean, the sport is like, it's like dance, gymnastics, combat sport. It's like so many things, the endurance that it takes. But then I think what struck me in working with Chavo and preparing was like, I was thinking about it in like the sense of like a choreographed fight scene where I was like, okay, like I'll hit the guy here and I'll drop kick here and I'll go off the rope here, but I wasn't thinking of it in the sense of like a full performance, a full narrative, full storytelling. The moments in between these moves are oftentimes even more important for the audience than the moves themselves. Like that's what gets people sucked in, that's what gets people excited. And so then like your energy, like I remember I'd have this routine, I'd be jumping up and down and off the ropes and all this stuff, I'd be exhausted, and then Chavo would say, and then you have to like charge up. And I was like, charge up? I'm like, I want to breathe for a second. I like catch my breath. And he was like, no, you gotta be stomping, you gotta be and I think that was like that was fascinating, understanding I think the wrestling world and that broader aspect of like of the storytelling and these guys as real performers outside of the obvious like athleticism. They're real artists and real performers and real storytellers.
Yeah, and the
I think it's just as simple as somebody from the outside giving professional wrestling its due. I don't think the professional wrestling as an art form gets enough credit. And when somebody from outside the business gives credit where it's due and lets the world know, hey, this is an art form like no other. There's no other form of entertainment like professional wrestling. And very few people really recognize that. You have someone like The Rock, who's probably the most famous man in the world, who gets it because he's done both. And he loves it so much and recognizes how amazing it is. He comes back to it. There's a guy that does not need to come back to a wrestling ring. He needs no more money in his pocket, but he comes back to it because he loves it and there's nothing else like it. No movie set he can go on, no no live kind of hype he can do at a sporting event. There's nothing else that he can do that's going to give him the same feeling that wrestling does and is going to kind of use the creative muscles that wrestling requires him to use. So the fact that, someone who's in another form of entertainment gives wrestling the credit that it deserves as the most unique and special form of entertainment on the planet. I think that's what resonates with me anyways, is like, okay, somebody gets it and realizes really the amount of work that goes into making professional wrestling work on a whole other level.
Yo, hoping you and yours had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and now it is Black Friday. And as you do your shopping, I'm in flight to Chicago, Illinois. Lucky enough to be able to cover Survivor Series, and I wouldn't be able to do that without the good folks at Zip Chair. And now, watch how I combine the two. I told you it's Black Friday. And Zip Chair, if you don't know, makes some of the best furniture in the business. So here's the deal. You want to be the MVP this Christmas season, and you want to give the best gift, whether it's a huge sports fan, why don't you give them the bar stools for the basement with their favorite team's logo? You know what I'm saying? All right, the Mets, the Lakers, it doesn't matter. NBA, MLB, MLS, NFL, collegiate, they got it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you want to get the recliner, the couch, all the same, all comfortable. But then, what I specialize in, I'm in my office, I'm in my chair, I'm at my desk a lot, editing videos, playing games, replying to emails, whatever. A lot of hours spent in that seat. And that seat needs to be comfy, and that seat needs to be a Zip Chair. Use that discount code Adrian to save 10% off and be the MVP of this holiday season. And even to add on to your point, like the fact that this story is being made, it is being put in a prime position coming out like in award season, and from all reviews from everyone is that this movie, specifically the Iron Claw, is like, no, they did it justice, because obviously there's a lot of heartbreak and there's a lot of angles they could have took to tell this story.
Yep.
Just randomly, by the way, I came to my head as you were talking. If there is a story that you can make a movie similar to the Iron Claw, and it doesn't have to be a devastating, heartbreaking one, but if there's one story in professional wrestling history, what would you pick to be made into a feature film?
Oh, geez, man, that's too hard of a question. I mean, see,
Right?
well, for me, I've been a professional speaker for a decade, where I go into schools and I share my story with kids, and I can't tell you how many times after I've shared my story and my journey with kids that I've had a kid come up to me and say, "You should turn your life into a movie." And I'm like, "Oh wow!" Like, to me, it's just my story. But I wrestle and work with so many guys that have amazing stories that we don't really hear. I actually recently started a podcast called "Wrestling Is Life Is Wrestling" to learn the stories of these wrestlers and let them tell their life story that they don't normally cover, because they're in, on screen and in the ring, and they don't really share the struggles that they've been through in their real life. So, as someone who's had struggles myself and talked to so many wrestlers on my podcast about their life stories, almost every single person I've talked to, it's like, you could make a movie about their life and it would be a hell of an awesome movie. So take any wrestler on the TNA wrestling roster, sit down with them for 5 minutes, and you're going to go, let's make a movie. Honestly, any single person on the TNA wrestling roster, you're going to go, okay, what an interesting person and interesting life. Because as professional wrestlers, hey man, we're pretty interesting people. There's not a lot, a lot of people in the world like us crazy professional wrestlers, especially the wrestlers on the TNA wrestling roster.
No, 100%. And I hinted at it earlier with one of my first questions, and I'll ask it fully right here. This year for Impact has been amazing. It's been cool to see, whether it's been Trinity's return, whether it's just been seeing these crowds, whether it's seeing some of these matchups that have happened and are still, gonna happen this Saturday and heading into 2024. So happy Will Ospreay is gonna be in the building when you guys come to Vegas and all these things. For you, living it, going out there, seeing the difference in this year in particular, how has it been?
It's pretty awesome, man. I mean, one thing that I've heard some people say is, "Oh, the morale in TNA is so high right now," which is such a cool statement to make, because the morale this year for Impact Wrestling has been at a 10. So the fact that the morale is even higher right now in the locker room, and the excitement and the buzz within the locker room is now cranked up to 11, is a pretty is a pretty cool thing and very unique thing. We're a family here at Impact, and on behalf of just for myself, and I know speaking for the other wrestlers in the roster, that buzz that's happening in the wrestling world for TNA is happening in the locker room too. This expectation and knowing that there's big things on the horizon, and then we're only going to be moving onward and upward, and there's new, fresh, expect the unexpected. All of these things are on the horizon for TNA wrestling. So the excitement that's felt by the wrestling fans is an excitement that's felt by the wrestlers on the roster as well.
And this might be a weird question, so I apologize if it comes out incorrectly. But I'm just interested if there's a pride in terms of. I just told you this year. I mean, you've lived it. I don't have to tell you, but this whole year, it just seems, in particular, the last 12 to 18 months, the boom in wrestling everywhere, and it's increased everywhere. And the other thing that's come with that is now press conferences are a regular thing. Free agency, like there's always been the dirt sheets, but like it just seems more of a thing of, oh, this person's a free agent, this, that, and the third. And of course, one of the big signings was Trinity. You look at the names that are free agents. Will Ospreay, who just signed with AEW, but is still coming back to TNA to wrestle. There was rumors about CM Punk. There was rumors about all these names. And when people threw out that they might be signing with Impact, whether they did or not, I thought it was amazing to see that everyone was like, well, if they sign with Impact, this makes sense. He can fit in, fight this person. The schedule, we'd be excited to see it. We want to see it, which no disrespect. In other years, I feel like the reaction to that would have been like, you're joking. This year, it was different, where people were like, yo, that's a tangible thing. Is that something the locker room takes pride in, to be like, no, the best are here at Impact?
I think that that's something that has been worked towards for the last number of years. When Scott D'Amore and the new management took over for Impact Wrestling, I think one of the things that was on their radar and on their to-do list was take that, what some people might have a negative view towards Impact Wrestling because of the mismanagement and the drama and the various things that happen over the years, and it's kind of struggle in the valley of the company. When we took it over, it wasn't in the strongest position, and the idea with Scott D'Amore and then also the roster was, let's take away that feeling of surprise if someone's like, oh, they're going to go to Impact Wrestling. And now we've accomplished that. And the reason we've accomplished that is the hard work of every single wrestler on the roster, of deciding to go out there and make the most of every situation, put on the best professional wrestling show possible. I've said this for the last couple of years. Every other Impact Wrestling star has said the same thing. We have the best all-around professional wrestling show on television. No matter what type of wrestling you like, whether it's, some goofy and entertaining or a 5-star classic between the ropes and everything in between, storytelling, no like storyline that just starts and then gets dropped for no reason. Like, we have the best of the best in Impact Wrestling. So yes, we take pride in that. And now we have the major stars that are free agents having TNA on their radar and praising TNA and saying, I always wanted to be in TNA since I was a kid. And now the fact that I'm in a TNA Impact Wrestling ring fills me with pride. Come on. Of course, that makes me stand up with my chest held high, my shoulders back, and go, yes, I am a TNA wrestler and I am proud of it. And there's more people like me and more coming out of the woodwork. And yes, the perception change is something that was a goal from management. It's been a goal from wrestlers, and it's been a goal that we have accomplished. And I'm damn proud that we've been able to accomplish that as a roster.
No, as you should. And listen, you can hear us talk about it, but you can see it for yourself this Saturday, December 9th. Fight TV. Be sure to order Final Resolution, all leading up to the return of TNA officially January 13th. Palm Casinos here in Vegas, hard to kill. Go get your tickets to Ticketmaster. And then followed up with Will Ospreay joining the night after. It's going to be a beautiful thing on that Sunday night. Both, you can get tickets for both shows at Ticketmaster. And before we get you out of here, because I know you got a lot of things to do while you're here in the city, let's touch on that real quick with the TNA name change. So first and foremost, how you found out, your reaction, to the name change and the return of TNA?
I found out at the same time that the world found out. I was in the locker room watching the monitor, and as the show was continuing, the pay-per-view was going on, Hard to Kill was on the horizon, and I was in the locker room, and people were like, hey, something cool is about to happen. Stick around. So the only people that knew were the people that were involved in that video and a couple of the producers. I wasn't one of those people, so I had no idea. And the majority of the roster had no idea that that was happening. So there's actually a video online, if you go to the Impact Wrestling socials, of a video of the locker room and their reaction to this announcement that we were becoming TNA. That was a real, authentic reaction of excitement from the roster, going, oh my God, this is cool. I was one of those people because I did not know. I found out when the rest of the world knew. So it's really special. It's special to me because I was in the original TNA. So, and I was doing a lot of different types of things on the screen than I am right now. So it's kind of a really cool thing for me, a source of pride, to the fact that I'm, wrestling for a championship, this weekend, Final Resolution, for the final Impact Wrestling show before we become TNA. I'm wrestling Tommy Dreamer for the Digital Media Championship. To see where I've come in my career versus, what I did back in 2009 when the original TNA, that's special to me. There's other members of our roster that grew up on TNA. When they became a wrestling fan, they became a wrestling fan because of TNA. And now they can say that they're a TNA wrestler and wear that badge of honor. I mean, that's special to them in a whole other level, in a whole different way. So there's all the excitement is for a variety of reasons within the roster, but it's nothing but excitement and positivity and anticipation for big things to come.
Two more before we get out of here. And this one might be a little bit too nerdy. From what I've been told and what I've seen in interviews, the 6-sided ring is not a thing that the wrestlers that have to perform in it don't like, because of the way that it like tears down your body. Could you please, do you prefer the 4-sided against the 6-sided? And could you break that down and please go as nerdy as possible? I'm here for it.
Well, I mean, Scott D'Amore, from my understanding, even addressed this when he was asked this question back when we were talking about the rebrand. He said what you just said. He said the actual physical logistics of the ring aren't the best from a talent perspective. It might look really cool on camera, which is the thing that I like about it. If you're just flipping through the channels, you see it and go, oh man, what's this? The average person might stop. They'd stop just to look at it and go, what is this thing I'm looking at? Okay. So, all right, that's a positive. So that's neat. However, here's the nerdy thing. The way a ring is constructed is it's wood and it's steel beams. When I was a kid, I thought a wrestling ring was, bouncy like a trampoline, like soft like a bed mattress. Nope. I had a rude awakening the first time I stepped foot into a wrestling ring and I took a bump for the first time. I went, oh my God, if this is what it feels like to be a professional wrestler, I don't know if I can do this. So that was in a 4-sided ring. You've just got cross beams and then wood on top of that. And then that's the ring. So the only reason there's any slight give on a 4-sided ring is because those cross beams are really long. But if you have 6 sides, now the cross beams are shorter. So the give on those metal beams is less. So now you're taking a bump on shorter beams, stiffer beams, and it's a lot more taxing on the body. So that's kind of the physical breakdown. I mean, any ring you're taking a bump in is a rude awakening to anybody. Anyone I know that's not a wrestler that's fallen down the ring says, oh my God, I have a whole new level of respect for you as a wrestler. But if you do it in a 6-sided ring, let me tell you, it's a whole other level of, oh my God, what is happening right now? So as someone who falls down on my back for a living, I will say that I'm happy that 6-sided ring isn't something that's going to be coming into the picture.
Look, I wanted to ask my final question, but it's too long for you to answer. We didn't get into the 3-hour cage match where you were blindfolded. So I'm going to leave you with this because I don't want Ross to kick my ass. So this will be the question. Okay. Who's the greatest TNA world champion of all time?
Oh, man. Look, there's a lot of answers I could give for a variety of reasons.
Josh Alexander went AJ Styles, by the way, for the clarification. That's what he went with.
As a proud Canadian, and not just because he's my friend, but because I've got to see firsthand over the last number of years and all the struggles with the pandemic and trying to keep the boat afloat, I have to say that Josh Alexander is the best Impact Wrestling champion of all time. His record speaks for itself. What he's been able to accomplish, not just from the number of days as champion, but the number of high quality pay-per-view match of the year candidates that he's had with a wide variety of opponents. No matter what situation you put Josh Alexander in, he hit the ball out of the park every single time. So yes, you've got a lot of guys like your AJ Styles, like your Samoa Joes, the list goes on and on. The Kurt Angles, those are all guys that kind of come to my mind. But the guy at the forefront of my mind of, wait, this is the guy that has carried that flag for the last number of years and really surpassed a lot of these guys that he wanted to emulate. I got to give my props to Josh Alexander.
Oh, you hockey guys stick together.
Cody, Canadian boys.
There it is. Cody Deaner, you've got a lot of kids and a lot of people to see here in Las Vegas. Enjoy your time. We will see you in January for the return to TNA. And honestly, thank you for the great conversation, my man.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Hope to see everybody at Hard to Kill and at Snake Eyes in January.
Yo, hoping you and yours had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and now it is Black Friday, and as you do your shopping, I'm in flight to Chicago, Illinois, lucky enough to be able to cover Survivor Series, and I wouldn't be able to do that without the good folks at Zip Chair. And now, watch how I combine the two. I told you it's Black Friday, and Zip Chair, if you don't know, makes some of the best furniture in the business. So here's the deal. You want to be the MVP this Christmas season and you want to give the best gift, whether it's a huge sports fan, why don't you give them the bar stools for the basement with their favorite team's logo? You know what I'm saying? All right, the Mets, the Lakers, it doesn't matter. NBA, MLB, MLS, NFL, collegiate, they got it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you want to get the recliner, the couch, all the same, all comfortable. But then, what I specialize in, I'm in my office, I'm in my chair, I'm at my desk a lot, editing videos, playing games, replying to emails, whatever. A lot of hours spent in that seat. And that seat needs to be comfy, and that seat needs to be a Zip Chair. Use that discount code Adrian to save 10% off and be the MVP of this holiday season.